Right now, across the country, thousands of young adults are deploying into forests, wetlands, and coasts. They are members of state-level programs and the newly formed American Climate Corps, mobilized as a frontline workforce to physically combat climate change. It looks like a completely modern policy innovation, a rapid response force designed specifically for the 21st century. But the entire mechanical structure of this operation was drafted, tested, and scaled 90 years ago. Paying unemployed youth to simultaneously solve an environmental disaster and a national economic collapse is a directly inherited, battle-tested piece of legislative technology from the 1930s. In 1933, the United States hit a devastating economic floor. The national unemployment rate reached a staggering 25%, creating a massive demographic of idle young men standing in densely packed urban breadlines. At the exact same time, the physical landscape of the country was failing. Decades of poor farming practices had led to catastrophic soil erosion and widespread deforestation. Millions of acres of topsoil were quite literally blowing away. Weeks into his first term, President Franklin Roosevelt pitched Congress on the Emergency Conservation Work Act. The logistical premise was straightforward. Take unemployed urban youth, move them into temporary military-run camps, and pay them to repair nature. Congress passed it by a voice vote in 10 days. Roosevelt had engineered the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, as a sociological shock absorber, a single machine built to heal broken lands and broken men simultaneously. This flowchart shows the immense bureaucratic coordination required to actually build the CCC. It relied on 4 distinct government departments locking together. The Department of Labor recruited the young men. The War Department operated the camps. Finally, the departments in Agriculture and Interior stepped in to organize and supervise the actual fieldwork. The United States Army was suddenly tasked with transporting, housing, and managing up to 300,000 men at a time, strictly without providing any actual combat training. Once in camp, the economic engine kicked in. Enrollees burned $30 a month for 40 hours of manual labor a week. But by law, they had to send 25 of those dollars directly back home to their dependent families. When these young men first arrived from the cities, military doctors noted that up to 70% of them were malnourished. Camp life provided an immediate structural fix. Heavy labor combined with 3 regular meals a day erased that caloric deficit. That exact financial and physical structure worked. The mandatory remittances injected federal relief funds straight into the hardest-hit urban communities, while the camps built a highly capable, physically fit national workforce out in the woods. Over the course of 9 years, 3 million young men cycled through the program, creating a literal forest army that reshaped the American map. The government organized their tasks into 9 specific classifications. This meant grueling manual labor, planting over 3 billion trees, stringing thousands of miles of telephone line, building bridges, and terracing land to control floods and stop erosion. The program operated within the intense social complexities of the 1930s. While Black enrollees received the exact same pay and housing as white enrollees, pressure from Southern politicians forced the camps to become strictly segregated by 1935. The government also established the Indian Emergency Conservation Work Division, or IECW. This was a parallel branch that specifically employed Native American men, allowing them to remain with their families and execute public works and land restoration directly on their own sovereign tribal lands. Beyond the physical infrastructure, the CCC hardwired a mass appreciation for the outdoors into the American identity. Millions of young men returned home with an ingrained understanding of land conservation. By 1942, the original program came to an abrupt halt. With World War II raging and the military draft in full effect, the surplus of unemployed young men vanished, and Congress disbanded the CCC. Enrollees traded axes for rifles. But the physical infrastructure they left behind, the state parks and fire lookout towers, became permanent fixtures of the American landscape. The administrative blueprint survived the official death of the program. In 1959, the CCC model directly inspired the creation of the Student Conservation Association, a nonprofit placing youth in environmental internships. That sparked a massive, decades-long national expansion. The structure was adopted by the California Conservation Corps in 1976, eventually spreading to dozens of state programs and federal networks like AmeriCorps. The 1933 Emergency Conservation Work Act proved to be an incredibly resilient open-source framework. It set the absolute standard for how a government organizes youth for public service. Which brings us back to today. The Biden administration's American Climate Corps, alongside international initiatives like the Dutch Sea Ranger Service, which trains youth to manage marine protected areas, are the latest iterations of this exact legacy. This split screen maps the parallels: 1933 on the left, 2024 on the right. Both target unemployed youth to fight an environmental threat, using work as an economic springboard. The threat expanded from soil erosion to climate change, but the deployment mechanism remains identical. The enduring legacy of the Civilian Conservation Corps is the structural proof that economic relief and environmental protection are not competing interests. They are two halves of the exact same solution.